Hi guys, in this session we are going to have an introduction to structured query language in the short form SQL, and this doesn't require any prerequisite. That means you don't need to have any prior knowledge, so you can directly start learning SQL. And the main motive behind this session is to introduce or to teach SQL for data analyst or machine learning engineers, the anyone know who wants to analyze data and get insight from that. So for those people, this video will helps. So what is SQL? Before that, so everywhere there is data. Every industry has data, and so everywhere there is big data. Big data means it's a huge amount of data. So based on size, we can't say it's a big data. So there are also other characteristics like volume, right? The size is higher means higher means how much. So as per the studies, minimum 1 petabyte of data, and the data comes with the data is generated with high speed. Even you need to analyze the data with the same speed, and then you need to give the results with the same speed. So this is real-time analytics. So you need to capture the data, store it, and uh, manage data on big data platform, and then analyze it. Analyzing means getting insight from the data. I mean, you have to convert a raw data into a knowledge, and that knowledge is used for decision making. So being a business analyst or data analyst, so when you are given a data, you have to get insight from that. So here we are talking about SQL, which is used to provide you the database management system. You can have a relational database management system so that you can store your data, and once the data is stored, how do you get insight? So getting insight means you have to write queries. You have to write queries, and that queries are processed, and you'll be getting an output. So everywhere there is a data, and so you need to write queries in order to get insight from the data. So this skill is required. Then what is SQL? SQL stands for structured query language. So whenever you are looking for some information from the data or from the database, you have to write a query. So query is nothing but it's an instruction or command. So we can consider query is a user request. It's a user request to get data from your database. So while writing a query, you can write set of conditions also, right? You can specify the condition. Based on the condition, the data is retrieved from a database. So SQL is the standard language for storing the data and then accessing the data. So importantly, SQL is used for storing and managing data in RDBMS, which stands for Relational Database Management System. So you can store your data in RDBMS, and then you have to write queries to get the questions answered. So this involves actually creating tables, reading the data from the table, so updating the existing data, or deleting some set of records from the database, and also tables. So I'm going to give you the difference between RDBMS and also one more term is DBMS, which stands for Database Management System. So all the RDBMS like MySQL, Informix, Oracle, Microsoft Access, SQL Server, so they are using SQL as standard language for data manipulation. So SQL allows us to write the queries so that the query is processed by the database management system, and then you'll be getting an output. Now the question is, how do you write a query? So you can use the language SQL. So SQL is just like English statement, right? You can write a SQL query or similar to writing the statements in the English language. Of course, there are some rules and regulations you need to follow for every language. So here also you need to follow some rules and regulations. So these are some sort of rules here. Structured query language is not case sensitive. It means capital D and small d makes the difference, right? Since case sensitive means capital D, small d makes the difference, but not a case sensitive means either you can use capital D or small d, so it doesn't make sense. And the keywords of SQL are written in uppercase most of the time, and most programmers prefer to write query in uppercase. And the statements of SQL are dependent on text align, so you can also use single SQL statement, or you can continue the same statement in multiple lines. And using SQL statement you can perform most of the actions which are performed on a database. So what are the frequent actions performed on a database? So first of all, the data is stored in the form of table, and we call that as database. And in order to access the data, you have to write a SQL query, and that query fetches the data from the database. So while doing this, you can also perform other operations like updating the records, deleting the records, right? So getting subset of records by writing a condition. And you can also use some set of operators, right? Different types of operators can also be used in SQL query. You can use this relational calculus and relational algebra, different kinds of operators. So some predefined functions so can also be applied on a data, and those operations are specified in the query. Then what is a database management system? So it's a software, right? Database management system is software which helps us to create a database. So by using DBMS, you can create a database, you can maintain your database. So once the database is created, you can perform various operations. So by using DBMS, you can manage large amount of information. Large means not that much big data, right? There are different types of databases, so it depends on the kind of data. So it's easy to manage large amount of information, and DBMS provides security to your data, and backups. You can have backup of your data. You can do importing and exporting data. Importing means getting in, exporting means from RDBMS to, you can export that in different formats, and it supports concurrency, means parallel execution, interacts with other software applications by using the programming languages. So this is what is DBMS. So DBMS means it's a software which allows us to manage the data. Then what is RDBMS? You might have also heard the term relational database management system. So the full form is this, relational database management system. The short form is RDBMS. So R is added to the DBMS and we are calling it as relational database management system. A relational database means you can have relationships among the variables or among the data, and this is considered as an advanced version of DBMS. And RDBMS is more popular. So in the next slide I'm going to compare DBMS and RDBMS. So if you are the new user or new learner, you should know what is DBMS and what is the RDBMS. So why people mostly use RDBMS, what are its features when you compare with DBMS, right? So example for RDBMS includes like MySQL, Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server. And with these DBMS and RDBMS, these two terms are popular. So and every data analyst or business analyst should be knowing the meaning of this. So crude means creating data, creating tables, creating database. Then reading the data from the table or database, updating, deleting. So these four terms: create, read, update and delete. Then this is also important term to understand or to know the full form. ETL stands for extract, transform and load. Means you can load the data, you can transform that data, and you can also extract the data from the existing tables or files. So you'll be understanding these terms as we move on. So here is the comparison between DBMS and RDBMS. So in DBMS you can store the data as a file. Final outcome is file, whereas in RDBMS you can store the data in the form of table. I hope this is the important thing to be noted. In the RDBMS, data is stored in the form of table, whereas in DBMS, data can also be stored in form of tables, but importantly in the form of files. And a DBMS supports single user, whereas RDBMS supports multiple users. So multiple users can work with RDBMS. And DBMS stores data which are not related to each other, means there is no relationship among the variables, among the fields. But in RDBMS you can have the relationship among the data. So data stored in tables are related by using foreign key. So you will be understanding this, what is this foreign key, later on. And in DBMS, data fetching, means retrieving the data, is quite slower when you have complex or large volumes of data. That means if the data size increases, then DBMS becomes slow. When you do the same thing with RDBMS, so data fetching is quite faster, because relational approach means every field has relationships, so there is a linkage of variables. And DBMS doesn't support normalization, whereas RDBMS supports normalization. Here there is no much security to the data, but in RDBMS you have multiple levels of security. An example for DBMS are these: file system, storing the data in file system like XML files, Microsoft Access, Windows registry. Example for RDBMS includes like MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, SQL servers. So this slide gives the difference between DBMS and RDBMS. So this is one of the interview question as well. Then what is database? So database is collection of table, collection of data. So all the relational databases store data in the form of table. In simpler term, remember, database is set of tables. When you consider some organization, the organization has various departments, various kinds of data, and you can have a set of tables for different different kinds of data and for different types of the purpose. So these are the examples, like for having a telephone directory, customer data, different types of customer data. You can have types of tables as well: product inventory, visitors register, weather records. There are many applications. So when there is a data, you can store that data in the form of table. So database is set of table. And how the table looks and what is table? So table stores the data in the structured form. Like here you have rows and columns. So these are the rows. How many rows are there? This is a field name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows are there. And the columns are referred here as fields. So there are four fields are there. So this is a student table. We are having student ID, name, gender, right? Gender, and then branch. So rows and column. So in RDBMS, data is stored in the form of rows and columns. A row is also called as a record. Okay, record. In other terms, we say table is nothing but set of records which specifies some information, specific information about the entry. For example, here single line or single record represents the information of a single student, right? And what about a column? Column represents some information about the data, like for example branch. So there are different kinds of branches. So we specifies only specific information. Branch, what is the gender, male or female, like name. So these are the columns. So how to use or how to create a database? So for that you have to use a software, right? So MySQL is the database management system. Of course we can say RDBMS database management system, which allows you to manage relational databases. You can have your data and store that data in database form, and you can consider the database as set of tables. Then by writing SQL queries you can get the information from your table. So MySQL is popular because it is open source, right? Today's trend is open data, open technology, right? Everyone would like to have open technology. So why to pay? This kind of scenario today we have in the market. So open software, open data. So instead of hiding data, so keep everything open, right? So every country has a open portal, open website. In that they are keeping a data from different what do we say, departments, right? Even Indian government has, American government has, every country try to keep the data open so that the common man, the normal people can also access the data. So it's open source software, that's why it's freely you can download from the internet and you can start using, and it is backed by Oracle. But if you want to have a MySQL with good features, then you can also buy a commercial license version of Oracle to get premium support services. One of the drawback of open technology is you are not going to be supported, so you just need to depend on documentation. So that is a drawback. So example for this is like Oracle database, MySQL server, and this MySQL runs on different platforms like Linux, Windows. You can also use on Mac. Now the question is, where do you get it and how do you install it? So you can just click on here, you can just click on this URL, then you will be getting the, here you can get Microsoft community download is there. So you can just click on this. MySQL installer for Windows is also there. For example, you can click on that, and then when you click on that, what happens is, the current version is Microsoft SQL installer 8.0.34. So based on your operating system you can start downloading, right? So here you have 32-bit and 32-bit MSI installer. So there are two versions here, community and web community. So from this you can select this one, normal one, that is installer community based. So when you click on download, the exe file will be downloaded, then just open it, right? Then just open it and then follow the instructions. So you have to download a installer from this URL as well, and then you can select custom setup. You can select custom setup, and importantly we require MySQL server, the latest one, from this category. And then from the applications category you have to select Workbench. So we use Workbench as IDE, integrated developer environment. I'm going to show that for writing SQL queries, and if you want to have a SQL cell you can also select that. Then select all the default configurations, set your password, and then a default user is a root. Okay, then click on finish. For the first time you need to run this, that is MySQL -u, means who is the user. User is root, and -p means password. It will ask you to enter the password, then local server will start. Then so after running this, local server will start, and then after starting this you can also write to know the databases exist. So it by default comes with databases. You can execute the command show databases, then it will list out the databases, means you have successfully installed MySQL server. And you can also use MySQL Workbench as an IDE, GUI, graphical user interface. Then you can click on database, then select the option connect to database, or else you can also click on this plus icon. Click on the plus icon, then you need to select the connection name, make it localhost. Then by default for localhost the host name is 127.0.0.1. this is the default port 3306. Then user, specify the username, and you can enter password, and you can also you can also make a MySQL server to remember your password. So you can also store in Vault. And after doing this, you can click on test connection. When you click on test connection, if everything is okay, then click on this user root password, then click on OK. Then it displays the confirmation message like successfully made the MySQL connection, right? So this is the output, and then finally click on OK to come out from the connection establishment, and then you can have like this root and then this one. So you can start your MySQL server. Let me show you. I have already opened, and this is the user interface initially, and I have a connection. When you click on open, double click on it, so you can get all the previous work. If you don't have any previous work, you can also open a new query. It will open new query tab like this. So here you can write any command. For example, I just want to show databases, right? Show databases. You want to know the existing databases, then here in MySQL Workbench you can use this button. So what is this? This is execute the selected portion of the script. Means you selected this and you want to run this, then run it, then you'll be getting the output. Then second, but this third button, this is execute the statements under the cursor. So your cursor is blinking here, and if you want to run this, then you can click on this. You can use either this button or this button, right? So you see, when I executed the database, you can see the available databases. These are all the databases created, already exist. So this shows the installation. Just give me a second. So this provides you the environment like this. So here the new query tab, and here you can write any query, valid query, by following the rules and regulations of SQL. Then the query is executed. Next, you have to learn the fundamentals of structured query language. So what is the meaning of SQL command? SQL commands are nothing but instructions. So this defines some operations. So like creating a table, adding data to the existing table, dropping the table, modifying the table, setting permission for user. So these are all the commands. So in order to run this operation, you have to write an SQL command, and that command is executed, processed, and you'll be getting the output. So to become a proficient in SQL, so you need to learn the different SQL commands. You have these types of commands or these DDLs, which stands for data definition language. So these are the commands: creating table, altering, dropping, rename, truncate, comment. Then DML, data manipulation. DML stands for manipulation, like selecting the data, inserting data into the table or database, updating, deleting, merge, call, explain plan, log table. DCL means data control, like granting the permission, revoking. TCL means transaction control statements like commit, rollback, save points, set transactions. So by using these commands, or by using these keywords, you can define an SQL query. So you need to learn these things. So first, today we'll talk about this DDL, data definition language. Definition means defining. You can create a new table, or you can delete the table, you can alter the table, like create, alter, drop, truncate. So these are the commands which falls under the category of DDL, data definition language. So you have to learn the syntax. So how to create a database? So this is the syntax. Create is the keyword. Create, then database. Then you need to write a database name, which should be a valid variable. For example, I create database SDB. So let us practice this. I just opened a new. Let me create a a database, like so you can write the command create database, write the database name, for example sdb2. sdb2 is my database name, so then semicolon is compulsory here, then you can use this, you can select and you can run this. The database is created. Now to list out the databases, you can again use this command show databases. You see sdb, where is that? Here sdb2 is there, so sdb, this is the database already created. So after creating a database, so you need to specify which database is to be used. So there are set of databases, you have to inform which database is under use now. So in that case you have to write use, then database name, you have to specify the use database name. So let me write here use, then use sdb2. So I am instructing that use the database sdb2, then run it, right, then run it. So that will use the database. So you can see if the operation is correct, then you can see the right tick mark. If there is error, it also displays here. Use sdb. So as I mentioned, database is set of tables. So within this sdb2 you can create a table. So this is how you can use sdb. Then how to create a table. So this is the syntax: create table, table name. You can create a table specifying the table name, and table is set of fields. So you have to write the column 1, column name, column 1, then what is the data type, column 2 data types. All the fields are separated by comma. And you can also make one of the column as a primary key. So primary key means which allows you to have unique values. For example, every employee has a unique ID, so there is no duplication, means no two employees are having the same unique ID, same ID. So you can make one of the column as primary key. So this is example: create table employee. Name, the first field is name, and varchar is the data types. So varchar means the combination of characters and numbers. We are specifying the size as 20. Then another field is email. You can specify the data type as varchar2, right, and then size is 100 characters. And dob means this is a user defined variable, date of birth, and its type is date. This is another example: creating table student. The fields are id, integer, then another field is student name, varchar of 20, gender. So if it is full, then means completely, like male, female. So you can specify the maximum size as 6, and then branch, we are specifying the branch, it is varchar of 5, then semicolon. So this will create a table. So let us create this. For example, I want to have a table, right? This one, creating table. So writing create table student, integer, next field is student name, varchar of 20, gender, varchar of 6, branch, varchar of 6. So then this table will be created. And if you want, you can also make the student ID as a primary key. You can write like this directly: primary key. You are making this as primary key. Then run this. Table is created. Okay, table is created. You see this operation is successful. Now to list out the table, in the database, you can use the command show tables. So we just have single table student in database sdb2. So this is the command show tables. Next I want to describe the table. So for that there is a command describe table name. Table name is student, then semicolon. So this will describe the table. You can see the description like field name. What is the field name? ID, student name, gender, branch, then a data type, integer, varchar, right? No, null. So this should not be null. And you see ID is a primary key. It's a primary key. So this is description. Understand, that is description. So like this you can create a table, and then you can describe, you can list out the tables. And what are the data types available? So I hope you guys have some basic knowledge of programming, right? No, character means single character, normally string means sequence of characters. So if you want to have the combination of numbers and characters, then you can use varchar. So this is the data type, character of size. It means you can have a fixed length string which contains letters, numbers and special characters. And when you say data type, it has a range. The range, it varies from system to system and operating system as well. So the size of char is from 0 to 255 and default is 1. Varchar means combination of letters and numbers. Tiny text, so holds a string with a maximum length of 255 characters only. Text means up the length up to 65,535 bytes. And this is enumerator type. You can have string values. Setting a string object can have a 0 or more values. In that you can create a set type. Like bit, single value 0, 1, tiny integer, boolean, small integer based on the size -32768 to 32767, medium integer. So all these are not necessary. So most of the time we use integer. Integer means some number. And then if you want to have the combination of characters and numbers, you can use varchar, right? We can use varchar. And we use float. Float means floating point numbers, right, which has some fractional value. Then if you want bigger number, then you can take the higher level, that is double precision. You can take double precision. So float to doubles. And sometimes we want to use date. So date, specify the date format. So support range is from this to this, and the default format is this. First is year, full year, then month, then date. So you can also specify datetime with the format, like with the timestamp, time, year, which extracts only the year. So these are the data types. Show, we have already used to show the databases. You can use the show command, show databases. Even you can use show tables. So we have already used these commands, show databases and show tables. Describe also we have already used. Describe means describing a given table. So this is the syntax, describe, then the table name, then this will give you the description. What are the fields, what are the data types, are there any primary keys, null values are available, null values are possible or not. And then truncate means delete all rows. It deletes all the rows from the table. So the syntax is truncate space table, then specify the table name, then it will make the table as empty. A drop table, how to drop a table? So you can use the command drop. So drop table name, then it will drop the table. So we have learned a few important commands. Then data manipulation. So data manipulation commands. So the first command is insert, means you can insert data into the table, right? You can insert data into the table, and once the data is inserted, we would like to see. So for that you can use select command. And for manipulation we can use this alter, alias, delete, drop. Okay, alias, delete, drop. So these are used for manipulation. Then now the next is, we have learned how to create a table, how to create a database, how to describe it. Now how to insert data into the table. So the syntax is insert into, specify the table name, and then column 1, column, specify the fields. You can specify the field names, space, values. You can write values and then specify the values. The number of columns mentioned here should match with the number of values, otherwise you will be getting an error. For example, you can insert data into the table. Let me insert. So the syntax is this one. So let me insert data. Insert into table. What is the table name? Insert into. You have to write the table name is compulsory. You have to specify the table name. Insert into student, right? And you can specify the column names, or sometimes column names is not important. So based on the structure, we use the term schema. So based on the schema, you can specify the values. So this is student, right? And what are the fields? So first is ID. So ID is number. You can give that 101. Okay. Next, student name. So name means it's a string. You can specify that in quotation, like Ramesh. Okay. Next, what is the next field? Next field is gender. Okay, gender you have given maximum 6. So this is also string. So you can specify that in male, right? Male. So in quotation. Next is branch. So this is also string. So specify that in quotations. So this is going to insert. This is going to insert. Yeah, student. What's wrong here? Not a valid this position. ID is integer. So why? Oh, sorry, there's a syntax error. So you have to write insert into table, then you have to write values. Values is compulsory. So we learn from our mistakes. So values, then you can give the 101. Then this record is going to be inserted. Now it is inserted, and if you want to see whether the data has been inserted or not, so select star from, yes, star means all fields, from table name. You have to write a table name, student, then all the fields or all records are retrieved. So we just have single record, and that is shown here. So like this, you can also insert multiple values. So I just copy this and paste it over here, and then I want to insert multiple records. So how do you do that? Simply between the record you have to use comma. Here add one more call, add one more field, one more record. So control C, I just want to copy this and make small changes. So 102, so it is 101 is already inserted, so I'll make this 102, and then name, let it be Suresh, male, let's make it IT, and then 103, let's make it Himesh, male. So let's make it the branch as EC. Then I would like to have one more record. Okay, one more record, and this is going to be 234 104. For example, Ria female. Then okay, is GSC. Then finally you have to use a semicolon. So how many records we are inserting? 1 2 3. So 3 new, and existing you have 1. Totally 4 records will be there. Select it and run. Now to see the records, so select start from student. So these are the records, 101 2 3 4 records we have. So like this you can write SQL queries, so the insertion of data into the table, and you can also modify modify the table. For example, you have this, you want to add a column. In that case the command is this: alter table student. Let me paste here, alter table student, and we are adding a column, that is grade, and specifying the size of this varchar of 2. This new column is going to be added. Now select start from table. You see you have a new column, grade has been added. So if you want to delete any particular column, right, you can use the command same. Instead of add, we use the command drop. Alter table student drop column, specify the column name, so this is going to be dropped. Now let me run the same command, select start from student. So after dropping grade, so what are left? The original columns, ID, name, gender, branch. So this is now altering, how to alter data, how to modify the characteristics of the existing table. So modify, you can add, modify, you can also modify. Select, we have used star, so star means all fields are selected. So we'll better learn this in the next video, because we would like to take some complex example, and then I'll show you how to run this select command in different ways. Then if you want to destroy a database, then drop database, then database name. Understand? Drop database name. Similarly, if you want to destroy a table, the command is same: drop table, then the table name. So let me show you how to drop a table. So I want to drop a table, so drop table, then table name student. You can also use the command if exist, means if this table exists, drop it, otherwise nothing. Sorry, I just cut it. Drop table student if exists, so it is already exists, so it is going to be drop it. So this command is successful. Now if I see tables, so if I want to see the table, list of tables, show tables, there are no tables. If you just want to drop this database completely, then write drop database, then database name is SDB2, then this database will be dropped. Now let me run the show databases. Now SDB2 will not be there, right? SDB2 is not there, so it has been dropped. So these are the very fundamental commands, like creating database, creating tables, showing data from the table. We have also learned how to add a column, how to drop a column. So in the future videos, I'm going to demonstrate you some complex tables, and writing queries, how to write the queries by using operators, conditions, various classes. So I just want to end this today. So do follow us for the future videos. Do follow us, do subscribe, and do like our videos. And if you feel something is improved, something is wrong, even you can comment. So thanks for watching.